Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the fifth round in the Gripline Super Formula Lights Championship here this season, supported by Everything Simulated. We come now to Monza for the start of the second half of the season, a 45-minute feature race here today, and abnormally, it's the first of a double header in feature races, 45-minute races back-to-back over the next couple of weeks, with Adelaide coming up next week as well. It's myself, Ian O'Leary, and Reece Gardner in commentary for you here tonight. And Reece, it's good to be back alongside you for a feature round once again. And as we hit the halfway mark, we start to understand really that Kieran Potter's got a big championship lead at the front of this field. And the second half of this season, for much of them, is going to be spent working out how quite they're going to close it.
Yes, but by the same token, we're likely to see plenty of chaos tonight, which might upset the apple cart, so to speak, going into the second half of the season. We are, of course, at Monza, and it's slipstream central. The games have already begun in qualifying. No one wants to be leading a slipstream train, and I think we're going to be seeing much the same in the race tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be very interesting indeed to watch. Let's have a look at the championship standings as I've briefly mentioned them. Kieran Potter leads by 128 points over Brody McConkey after extending another 48 points last week at Mosport. Jackson Rihanna dropped to third place with McConkey's results, though, because Rihanna only scored 34 points. That's become his drop round now, perhaps unsurprisingly. Tom Donahue is still fourth, although last week became it was nearly his drop round. Sorry, it's not quite become his drop round. Sebastian Eskandari is fifth position after winning race 1. If you remember last week, Danny Davison then in sixth place of Ryan Bell, who's within 200 points of Kieran Potter. So from second to seventh is quite close. Bit of a gap then back to Ryan Borg, Jack Munro, Madeline McGee rounding out the top 10. Thomas Hinds, Craig Edwards, before we finally get to Anthony Bate, who is the silver class leader by 5 points over Tom McInnes. Sam Moore finds himself in between those two at the end of 4 rounds of competition. As we saw, though, from last season, it is very much or you can very much really vault up the field late on in the silver class. Mika Kosta-Chexera moved all the way up to 21st just by winning 1 race last week. So there you go. He is now 5th in the silver class standings, and he came from behind to win last season too. So who knows for the remainder of this season. But yeah, let's see what happens in qualifying here, because this is going to be very much about teamwork. And normally, Reese, I would say, therefore, Max Boost are the undeniable favourites. But actually, Proline have shown themselves to be really quite a well-working team so far this season, which really could play a big role here.
Yeah, certainly could. All you need to do is make sure that every driver gets a reasonable lap in the slipstream, and you'll be able to find yourself up the top. It has been a good run for Proline this season. This may very well be the season that they or one of their drivers gets that championship title. But if Max Boost can get together a solid offense, then potentially they could upset that. We'll have to wait and see as we await the final results from qualifying. Still 8 minutes remaining in the session, and Sebastian Eskandari on top by 0.2, but I think we could see a couple of surprises in qualifying. If someone nails the slipstream from further down, we might see them starting way up more the order than we thought.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's so close with 13 at the moment, covered by less than a second, now 14 as well, so it is going to be a very, very close session. I know this is unprofessional, but I'm going to have to do it anyway. John, we can't see your stream, so so I need to so we're fine. There we go, I can see it now, so there we go. I had to do it. Sebastian Eskandari, there he is coming out of the final corner, currently leads this session by about a quarter of a second in front of Danny Davison and Ryan Bell, and with a nice slipstream to the line, he's not going to go any quicker there. That is a big gap, but I can't imagine it is going to be retained, although we are over halfway through. Kieran Potter, 2/3 exactly of a second down, currently down in 8th place, and Jackson Rihanna just behind him, although Jackson Rihanna does often qualify there. Here's Potter, though, and he has got some help, and he's got he's got a teammate spinning in front of him. That won't help, but he has got a purple sector and 2 personal bests. It might not matter too much for him.
Yeah, unfortunately, he's got the entire length of this straight between Variante Ascari and Parabolica to wonder what might have been. All of that air will be hitting the front of his car, and that's unfortunately resulted in a yellow sector in that particular part of the circuit. Let's see if he can preserve something and bring it to the line reasonably. P8 on a 141.9, and it is enough for him to get onto the provisional front row, but a mere 200ths ahead of Danny Davison and Ryan Bell. There's not much in it. Needs a little bit more if he wants to beat Eskandari.
Yeah, it's a good lap though for Potter to get him onto the front row, despite his teammate spinning around towards the end there. But how many are going to be able to jump between Eskandari and Potter now because of that mistake? Angus Milne, probably one of them, who just moved up to 2nd place there. Danny Davison's coming up towards the line at the moment. Campbell Adams going very quickly at the moment, as well as Eskandari. Although there's Davison pulling out of the way of some of the guys towards the final corner. Scott Bartine goes up into 4th place, and Campbell Adams does go to the top. So that is a bit of a surprise. Eskandari's had the help of Davison, so he's going to go close. And 6 thousandths behind. That was not far away at all. And Sebastian Eskandari is only 6 thousandths behind Campbell Adams. How are these two going to sort this one out now for the remainder of the session? 2 Max Boost drivers, of course, separated by barely anything at the moment.
Yeah, this is exactly what I was hoping for, and for a bumper qualifying session, if those first 10 minutes are anything to go by, still 5 to go, and that should be enough for about 3 laps or so. If you're coming out from the pits, it should be enough for a couple of hot laps at least. So let's see what they can do. Barely anything in it at the front of the field, and it looks like we've actually managed to run almost as fast as we saw in practice. Jet Saragi topped practice on a 1:41.023, so that's going to be what everyone's going to be aiming for. Kieran Potter makes a nice response and manages to insert himself into third, 41.2, again with help from a teammate.
Yep, indeed. Oh, wow, got Potter over the curbs, and he'll have a slowdown from that, not least an off-track and everything else. It's obviously going to hurt him in terms of lap time, as it's meant to. And Potter will stay third for now. I should just say, actually, a bit of news before the race is that Brody McConkie will not be here today. Some drivers we're told more than just McConkie missing today, but it's because of the Bathurst 12 hour that some people are travelling to, and I'd frankly forgotten was this weekend, so there you go. It's McConkie, those most of a big name, I suppose you could say, missing the race here this week. McConkie's drop round is 81 points though, so if any of his rivals finish first or second, then they're gaining points on him, but any lower than that, then they're not actually gaining anything on McConkie in real terms when we come back next week and see the standings. So that's why we always say you've got to have a good drop round, because if you do miss one or have a bad one, then you've got that big point score to be added on anyway. And that's what McConkie's been able to do from the first half of this season. The thing for him now, though, he's got to come back for the final 3 rounds and go very well, because that's a big gap to close over Kieran Potter already.
Yeah, it certainly is. But I've experienced a similar thing myself when I've been competing in championships. If you get a consistent enough run of results, by missing a round, technically you actually gain points, because then your drop round becomes 0. So silver lining there. Still a shame that we don't have McConkie here to see what he can do versus the best at Monza. But for now, we'll focus on who is actually here. Tom Donoghue, league administrator, beginning another lap. Some minor improvements for some, but a big improvement for Daniel Ackland. He has just gone from 20th to 10th on that lap, solidly in the slipstream of, it appears, Jet Saragi, but I could be wrong on that. In terms of Saragi himself, currently sitting P7, hasn't quite reached the heights of practice. Campbell Adams, though, making a big improvement. First driver all night into the 1-minute 40s.
Well, he's been running with Eskandari for a while, as Davison makes it max boost 1, 2, 3. He's been running with Eskandari for a while, and so I wonder whether those two are going to swap round now. Although Eskandari, I think, is in that group behind there. Yeah, he is. So this is quite a lot of traffic, in fact, for Eskandari. And he's now making a move on somebody. This is not good. Oh, dear. Well, this is not well coordinated. And they're not teammates. I don't think that was a max boost car. Eskandari has not really timed this well at all. And I think the best he can hope for now is second in this session. There's not long to go.
Yeah, not long at all. 1.5 minutes. This being a single race server, you will be able to finish the lap you're on when the clock hits 0. So that's a slight silver lining there. But we can already see that Eskandari has abandoned that lap, and he'll be looking to go for one more right at the end of the session. Seeing further improvements in the session, Ryan Bell moving up to P7, 141.4. It's a matter of hundreds and thousandths of a second that we have here at Monza. That's why I've been looking forward to this round so much. The lap times were always going to be super close. Yeah,
although to be fair, I wasn't expecting half a second to cover the top 5. I think the gaps initially are quite large, but then, to be fair, the next half second takes you all the way down to 17th, so and then the next one to 28th, so it is quite close as a general rule, but the top 5 is surprised me. Chung goes over the line there and stays where he is. We've also been told that the silver class drivers, by the way, are all going to be staying where they are unless somebody starts winning races. I believe that there may have been a change or two to the silver order, but as I mentioned in the standings, Anthony Bate is currently leading. those silver class standings over Tom McKinn's by just 5 points. Dan Ackland there, interestingly, is 30 points behind. Watson is 43 behind, Costa 45 behind, Mika Costa Texera. So they're all there or thereabouts, and the final part of the season in the silver class standings could be very interesting, as it was indeed last season. More interesting than the overall fight last season, because for the first time somebody sewed up the championship before the final round in Sebastian Eskandari. Mark Heppel moves up to the line here pretty slowly. I'm not sure that's going to be an improvement, although maybe slightly. No, it doesn't seem to be. Mark Hilly goes fastest of anybody in Sector 2. Can he maybe infiltrate the top 5, or maybe even further than that? He's not seemingly had any help towards the end of the lap here, which could be his undoing over the line for Mark Hilly. And it is a bit of an improvement. He goes up to 5th position, and I think he can be pleased with that, because I'm not sure how much improvement we're going to see across the board on this last lap.
Yeah, it looks like the majority of drivers are actually going for the pits. Tristan McLaren, Jack Monroe, Daniel Ackland, and Angus Milne all jumping into the pits at the end of the session. It looks like Jackie Chung is going to do the same. Campbell Adams is committing to the end of another lap here. And, I mean, he didn't really need to stay out. He's got pole, effectively, and by quite some margin. So he will stay there, just waiting for the final few cars to come across the line here to end the session. Madeline McGee giving a slipstream to Alex Stevens. Neither of them improve on their time, but a group has just come up, including Kane Ryder, who moves up to P10. Nice. Okay. That's an interesting way to end a qualifying session there. Fortunately past the line, but it looks like Ryder was the only one to make an improvement in that final stanza.
Yeah, it did. It's a very weird crash, that. But anyway. Campbell Adams has taken pole, and we haven't seen that too often in the in FDL. Last week was the first time, the last couple of weeks really, Kieran Potter's stranglehold over the pole position, which he took for the first 3 races of this season, has started to waver in the last 3 races. Now 4 different drivers or 5 different drivers in the last 5 races, with Ryan Bell taking pole for the Navarra feature race, and then last week Sebastian Eskandari and Brodie McConkie both taking pole positions as well. But this time it is Campbell Adams, as Max Boost take just their 2nd pole position of the season. Wouldn't have been expecting that at the beginning, but that's the way that it's gone. Of the championship contenders, as we mentioned, Brodie McConkie isn't here. Kieran Potter is in 4th place, though. Jackson Rihanna is starting in. I can't see him actually. Where is he? I should have started that sentence having known where he was. 20th place, and it wasn't so far towards the front. So he's got a lot of work to do from there. Tom Donoghue will be starting a little bit further down as well, outside the top 10. But here is the grid with Campbell Adams on the pole, Sebastian Eskandari alongside, and Danny Davison in a Max Boost 1, 2, 3. Kieran Potter down to 4th place with no teammates around either, really, which isn't going to help. Mark Hilly then in 5th place ahead of Jet Storagi, with Angus Milne and Ryan Bell on row 4. Scott Bartine and Kane Ryder round out the top 10. Dan Ackland has taken silver class pole position in front of Tom McKinns, Jackie Chung and Anthony Bate, all there in the silver class as well. Madeline McGee and Jack Monroe are then in 8th place ahead of Julian Sonese and Thomas Searle, Alex Stevens, and then Jackson Rihanna. So far down again from Rihanna. He's got a lot of work to do from 20th. 21st has gone to Chris Little with Alexi Watson alongside. Tom Donoghue then starts from 23rd. He's 4th place in the championship, starting a very long way back. Ryan Borg alongside. Tristan McLaren and Brendan Bonacci are next, ahead of Mark Heppel, Nathan Verney, Marcus Knitsker and Shane McGee rounding out the top 30. And that is your field here tonight. A big opportunity really for Eskandari to gain some points here. He's got teammates around him and he needs to gain points, because who else is going to do it? McConkie's not here. Rihanna's and Donoghue are outside the top 10. It's down to Eskandari to close the gap in the championship, I feel.
Yeah, and Eskandari missing 2 rounds, so he's really on the back foot for points coming into this round in the second half of the season. It's going to be a very important round indeed for Eskandari if he can get it done here on teammate Campbell Adams. But Max Boost taking up those front 3 positions. I'm sure that they're going to be working together as best they can, but turn 1 and Monza, is one of those mythical places in sim racing. It's one of those places that you come into. It's a 50-50 chance whether you're going to make it out unscathed. Hopefully, the field has a clean start, but we'll wait and see in a moment.
Yeah, indeed. Here we go. The lights come on here from Monza, and we are racing in the Gripline Super Formula Lights Championship for 45 minutes here tonight again. And Campbell Adams gets off to a bit of a sluggish start, to be honest. Davison trying to put himself through the middle of the Max Boost trio, but he's not going to. They're just going to block off the likes of Potter and Hilly behind him towards the first chicane, which is always a point of real concern, especially for those further down in the pack. It looks like we've gotten away with it, though, at least for the top guys. Everybody getting through very, very cleanly in the first chicane.
Yeah, it actually doesn't look like there were any big crashes to speak of. I was expecting there'd be a couple. Well, we've got another chicane coming up here. Maybe we'll see it. Campbell Adams getting away to a good lead at the moment. Eskandari dropping off from him out of the second chicane. There's a good run from Mark Healy. He's going to try and move his way past Danny Davison at Lesmo 1. Davison dropping down the order as Angus Milne is in the gravel trap.
Yeah, Angus Milne drops down the field, and that is a shame because he was running quite further towards the front initially here, but Adams does still lead. Eskandari trying to push him away from Kieran Potter, but that's not really working. It's just about a second back then to Hilly, and then Davison and Bell, who are all fighting as well. These guys will, I think, be better served to try and work together to catch the leading trio at the moment, because otherwise they're not going to have any chance of winning the race at all. But if they work together, they could get in the slipstream and have that chance.
Well, now the train forms. Usually by the time they get to Parabolica for the first time, you've sorted out the running order for the next couple of laps, and the Max Boost duo of Adams and Eskandari working their way nicely there as Kieran Potter follows steadily in their wheel tracks. Mark Healy will be leading the charge to fourth place. We'll see what kind of exchange happens between Eskandari and Adams at the front of this field up the inside at turn 1. That looked like a pretty easy move in the end, but there's plenty of jostling further behind.
Yeah, excuse me. Indeed, it looks like the top three are gone then with the way they're fighting. And Davison's just not having a good start at all here. 3 places drop now. Bell and Hilly both get past as we get some... oh, wow, that was quick, wasn't it? The first penalty of the day. Jet Saragi already for that contact with Angus Milne. Wow, he was only off less than a lap ago. It must be very obviously his fault. Because that was exceptionally quick. Hilly, meantime, gets back past Bell again out the second chicane, and well, the battle for fourth is turning into what a race for the lead would look like on another day, but they're battling for fourth position, and letting the front three get on with it at the front of the field. But look at the field behind. I mean, there's not very many big gaps all the way behind, and Hilly is now at the front of it after getting back past Bell again. And while this continues, the gap to the leaders extends, and to be honest, I think the gap to the leaders has extended more than what they can afford to let it get out to already, to be honest. I think this is already fourth or worse for these guys in this group now.
Yeah, and this is the point where if you're a driver in that group, you think, oh, okay, that's Rihanna that spun out of Ascari in the background there. Horrible luck for Jackson Rihanna, but I think he ultimately did that to himself. Pass made between Campbell Adams and Kieran Potter for third, but I'm glad that not many other drivers were involved in that incident for Rihanna. That could have been a big one. 3 wide for fourth. It's on now.
Yeah, it is, and Potter is trying to get in amongst it with Adams and Eskandari, but that's not going to happen here just for the moment. Davison versus Hilly in towards the first chicane in the background. It's going to go the way of Danny Davison. So after losing so many places off the initial start, he gains 2 in 1 there, and Hilly doesn't get a very good run at all off of the first chicane, although it's outside line for Bell now, and he's not going to get all the way around there, I wouldn't have thought. So Davison up to fourth position. Here came Ryder actually on Ryan Bell, who's made the mistake of going to the outside of the Curva Grande and into the chicane. Now they slip back into line all over again. So it all gets orderly as this group now is really rather sectioned off for just 7 of them. Dan Ackland has got a very big gap in front of him. But Jackson Rihanna moves all the way down to 29th after that spin. And, you know, if he doesn't finish, I think it's 13th or better tonight, then this will become his drop round. But you'll note, as I mentioned before, his drop round from last week isn't very good. So that just gives you an idea. He'll be losing a lot of points as it stands. And Eskandari, I think, will be vaulting up into second in the standings as things stand as well.
Yeah, if Eskandari can hold on to it, it's going to be a good haul for him. Ackland, you mentioned he was at the front of the pack, and now he's fallen to the back of it as there's a big spin for Thomas Searle. Ascari seems to be the epicenter of a lot of the big incidents here today. That's going to be an unfortunate loss there for Proline Esports. Searle, of course, in the silver class. And at the moment, a long way from the front there. Big damage again. It looks like he's managed to get it rolling, though, so we should be able to get into the pits for some repairs.
And so far, thankfully, with all the incidents of the day so far, we've not actually seen any safety cars either yet. Chung and Ackland both in pit lane this time, and it's 3 wide for 4th place. Hilly there gets in front of Bell again, and they've both got past Davison. Cape Ryder's going backwards too. Not sure how he's managed that particularly, but he's lost all of the positions here, and everybody in the group goes through on him. He's now back to 10th place, which is where he started in this race. It wasn't a slowdown. I don't know what that was all about. Bell, meantime, back past Hilly in towards the second chicane. This is just going to be a group very hard to separate for the remainder of this race. Although there's only one stop today, and so we could see a sizable period in this race where they're actually running apart on the racetrack because they go for completely different strategies here.
Yeah, certainly a possibility. It looks like Ryder was sent wide in turn 2 by teammate Danny Davison and caught the gravel on the exit of turn 2. So that's the reason why he lost all of that pace. But good point about the pit stop. Only one stop expected, and you only have to take about 16 litres. You can stop any time from the end of lap 1 to lap 17 is about as far as the tank can go. So on the starting fuel at least. So we've already seen a couple of drivers get that done. Chung, Ackland, Donahue, McLaren have all jumped in, and I think Jackson Rihanna, in repairing the car from his spin that we saw, has also gotten his service done. So I don't expect the drivers that have had issues early on will have to come into the pits again. No,
let's hope not for their sake. Fastest lap of the race so far from Kieran Potter last time as he overtook both Max Boost drivers at the front of the field. Losing it on the brakes there slightly was Campbell Adams, but he doesn't crash into his teammate, nor Kieran Potter up front. I thought Max Boost would try and do something a little bit like what Proline did last week, if you remember, with Eskandari, where I know Mosport's a very different circuit to this one, but they didn't let Eskandari get an inch there. They didn't even let him get to third. And eventually he caused an incident to get there, and Eskandari dropped to 5th place post-race with his penalties, by the way. But I mean, they're not doing that here. Potter's made a mistake there, which has gifted them first and second, but if they'd have protected first and second like Proline were last week, they could have had the chance to distance Potter from the slipstream. What's happened here is that Potter's only dropped to the back of the group. He's not going to be distanced off the back of the group. He's just going to grab onto the coattails of some slipstream here, and he's going to get back involved again. I think Max Boost could have worked a lot harder to keep 1 and 2 here, and if Potter had made that mistake from that position, he could have been out of contention for this race. He might be anyway.
Yeah, he got a slowdown through the second chicane there, and it took him a while to clear that slowdown. It looks like Max Boost have responded nicely here with its Adams, it seems, bump drafting Eskandari almost down the run to Parabolica. It's from around 1.5 seconds behind the car in front that the slipstream starts to kick in, but once you get within a second, that's where you really get the advantage. So I think that Kieran Potter is just hanging on to that slipstream now. Adams and Eskandari will trade places again at the front of the field. Meanwhile, Tom McInnes and Anthony Bate trading spots for 8th spot there. That's for the lead of the silver class. Outbreaker maneuver from Danny Davison on Jet Saragi. That's a change for 6th. So things are looking like they're chugging along quite nicely in this race. At the moment, the top 3 still very much breaking away from everyone else.
Yeah, but is that second group going to make contact? It's 1.6 seconds now, and I know that's because Potter has had that slowdown that has brought him a bit closer in again, but Hilly and Bell are working quite well together at the moment. and they are getting away from the rest of the group as well. So they're not going to bring all of them there, but they could just bring themselves another couple of drivers in this front group. But Adams and Eskandari working hard to distance Potter. This is such a key moment in the race. I know it doesn't look like it right now with less than 10 minutes gone, and to be fair, a safety car right now or indeed later would wipe all of this away in terms of its importance, but this is such a key moment in the race. Potter cannot make another mistake here. He's got to stay within a second, otherwise he's not going to get this slipstream back from these two teammates, because they're going to work together right up until the point at which they have to pit, which by the way is more than 10 laps away. So Potter is in a really key moment of this race, even though we're still only in the first 10 minutes.
Yeah, let's see what Potter can do here, because at the moment Adams and Eskandari are working together like clockwork, like you'd see in a NASCAR race at Daytona or Talladega, just getting in the slipstream, bump drafting a little if need be. It is possible in open wheelers, though not entirely advisable. Looking back to Tom McInnes and Anthony Bate, they've got Kane Ryder alongside them. It's going to be 3 wide for 8th, and Ryder does his best to stem the bleeding somewhat of him dropping down the field in the last couple of laps.
Yeah, indeed. And he's back up to 8th again after dropping as low as 10th. That group, by the way, from Stevens on back looks absolutely mental from that long shot we saw earlier on. 13th place they're fighting over. And Madeline McGee just lost that 13th place. Now Chris Little gets on the inside and gets through as well. So that's 2 places lost in one for McGee, who's another driver who's dropped back to where she started in this race in 15th position. Look at this behind as well, though. You've got Watson, Bonacci, Konitska and Heppel were involved as well. But they're slightly off the back. McGee and Verney, you can see in the background too, as they now go side by side through Lesmo 1. This is Watson now overtaking McGee, who's just seeing the positions going the wrong way at the moment, although Watson has to give a bit of room on the exit of the second corner then, but actually now he's going to have to go to the outside of all of them. Oh dear, it's quite narrow here, 3 wide, and they're going to get away with it just about. McGee is on the inside and might well keep the positions as a result, and will do. Breaks later on the inside and keeps the places rather nicely. Watson and Bonacci now forced to tuck in behind. Konitska and Heppel have caught up, but look at the gap created. 2.5 seconds in one go there as they fight. This is why drivers at the front of the field don't fight, if ever you were wondering, early on in the race, because they just lose so much time. As entertaining as it is, 3 wide nearly again in towards the final corner, and that's so nearly contact in the middle of the group, but they get away with it. Round the outside, McGee holds the position for now, but what on earth is this group going to look like down in towards turn 1 here?
Yeah, there's plenty more jostling to come. Mark Heppel there trying his best to make his way past Marcus Konitska, but really the changes are between Watson and McGee. From certain angles, almost looks like 4 wide. Bonacci going to lead the way into turn 1 there. McGee positioning her car perfectly to stay behind him and not have Mark Heppel get a run on her. I think Heppel was the one who played that the best out of everyone. He managed to move from the back of the pack to round about the middle, and still crucially in the slipstream of McGee with a small gap to Watson, just enough to keep the position coming into the second chicane.
And through goes Konitska and Watson, who's just gone backwards again and again in the last couple of moments. He was 3rd in the group earlier, now down to 5th. Here is the battle for 8th place. Start to thin out at the front of the field while that battle behind is going on very entertainingly. It's thinning out at the front. Although, having said that, Bate is trying to catch up to Saragi and Davison, who are next in line. Then Bell and Hilly again, who are working together, trading places. I think to a degree, as Madeline McGee goes off, unfortunately, from that big group. I think these two are to a degree trying to work out actually how often it is best to exchange places here in terms of trying to gain time, or is it better to, maybe not bump draft for the reasons you say, but maybe just get really close to the driver in front of us, use that reverse slipstream. Hilly gets back in front of Bell again here, but I think that maybe he was trading positions too often to actually gain anything on Potter here, not sure.
Yeah, it's a difficult game to play. unfortunately. You do need to basically look like you're not doing anything from a broadcast perspective if you want to be making gains in a field like this. I've just had a look again at Madeline McGee's incident. Ultimately, it was contact between herself and Brendan Bonacci. McGee was trying around the outside of Ascari, which is not always an advisable line to take, and unfortunately Bonacci understeered into her, and so McGee now has heavy damage and is towed back to pit lane, the first driver to have to do so tonight.
Yeah, we'll see if we'll see a replay of that in a moment. Would like to see what happened to Jackson Rihanna as well in a bit more detail, because he's down into 29th now. I mean, he did make that pit stop, but obviously unscheduled pit stop from this. Is this this is another one, I think. Yeah, so this is separate down towards the first chicane, and as he was with Bartine earlier, Scott Bartine. He's now 2.5 seconds behind Scott Bartine in the field, and Jackson Rihanna is all the way down in 29th, and well, it's going from bad to worse. To be fair, that wasn't any contact or indeed a spin of any sort, but that's not good news at all. And don't forget, others have stopped in this race, by the way. Everybody who is in 22nd or lower have stopped, so Jackson Rihanna is even last of them.
Yeah, not ideal for Rihanna. I mean, he would have been able to make something of a recovery on his initial spin, but that extra mistake at the first corner has really cost him more. Moving around in the latter half of the top 10, McInnes and Bate continuing to lead that 1-2 for Proline Esports in the silver class, and they're a long way ahead of the next silver class competitor, being Chris Little, down in 14th place. But they have to keep an eye out for Kane Ryder. He's looking to be a spanner in the works here, and I'm wondering if he's just mentally trying to manifest these guys to work together with him, because that's the only chance he's going to have to catch up to the rest of the top 10 here.
Yeah, indeed. Oh, we've got first penalty for a while for Bonacci for that contact with Madeline McGee. But, yeah, I haven't seen personally, but clearly race control agreeing that he was at fault for it, and a 10-second time penalty dished out. And oh dear, this is the spin for Rihanna.
Well, that's another spin again.
Is
actually.
It? Oh my word!
Yeah. So the first spin that we saw live happened here on the exit of Ascari. He somehow spun in the middle of Ascari on his own as well. This is a really rough day for Rihanna.
Yeah, and then he gets behind Bartine. So then he gets behind Bartine and has that blow through the chicane that we saw. So that's incident number 3, I guess, that we can chalk up now. Dear me, not a good day at all. As I mentioned, you've got to be about 13th to prevent this from being a drop round. So it's probably going to be, as Campbell Adams and Sebastian Eskandari exchange places here, just over a third of the way through this race now. Campbell Adams is in front of Sebastian Eskandari, and they're extending their advantage over Kieran Potter now. This is a big day for Eskandari, and at the moment he's seizing the opportunity. Bate goes meantime down the inside of Tom McInnes and gets the lead in the silver class as well. The top 2 in the silver class fighting it out at the moment for 8th and 9th positions in this race, and so if they follow one another and finish one position behind the other, it doesn't matter which way round it is. Ensley Bate would be the championship leader by the end of the day, but battling over a class win here with about 15 minutes gone.
Yes, indeed. And still plenty more to go in the race besides. My timing's telling me it's going to be 16 laps to go when the leaders cross the line next. Might be off by a lap or so, depending on how the pit cycle shakes out. Everyone outside of the top 20 has now gone for a pit stop. Most recently, Brendan Bonacci, who, as we saw, recently received that 10-second time penalty from race control. But Bonacci has completed his service, and now we'll see where he's going to shake out from here. Campbell Adams with a slight extra gap over Sebastian Eskandari now, 0.3 of a second. Bate and McInnes will continue to draw up to each other. It would appear that Ryan Borg might try to catch up to these guys, as it appears Kane Ryder has dropped back from this Proline duo.
Yeah, indeed. It was a trio before, but yeah, Kane Ryder has lost the group now pretty much. Here comes McInnes though. A lot less working together happening here, and in towards the first chicane. Campbell Adams has got a slowdown, by the way, and that could be disastrous for Max Boost. Now, do they keep Eskandari back? And they are, I think. I think Eskandari's lifting off here. They want to retain the top two, and Adams still hasn't cleared it into the second chicane. Oh dear, they're letting Potter back in here. And as Eskandari realises that, he's going to go on his own. He's got to go on his own here, and he's going to... Oh, Adams still hasn't cleared it. Goodness me, how big is this slowdown? There it goes. And Potter now rejoins Campbell Adams, so they've both had a slowdown. They're now in their own group, but Eskandari did something very smart there, which was, if it wasn't too large, he was going to go back and help Adams keep the slipstream. But once he realised Potter was going to be rejoining the group, he wasn't going to risk putting himself in a trio like that, and so he's gone off on his own now.
Yeah, good decision from Eskandari in the end. Ultimately, Campbell Adams outbraked himself coming into turn one. There was a slight lock-up as he took a tight line in, and he had to cut across the inside of turn two. And the slowdown is especially brutal from that. That's why it took so long for him to clear that. But now Kieran Potter sees a chance to at least get into second by the end of proceedings here. He is in the slipstream range of Campbell Adams. Question is, what does Campbell Adams do in this situation? Does he try and defend from Potter to give Eskandari the advantage, or does he see the chance to go for the win himself and maybe use Potter as a bit of a slipstream assist?
Let's see here, and towards turn number one, I think he's going to try and keep Potter behind him for as long as he can. That's diving quite deep into the first chicane, because the reason being because they can pull Hilly and Bell and all the others into the group, which increases the likelihood that Potter drops down the field. Now, I'm not sure why Adams has gone for the outside through Curva Grande here, because Potter might well be clear by the braking zone, but Adams is going to dive deep on the brakes here, and this is going to be worrying for Potter now. Eskandari's going to get away with this race win, that's fine, but it's about how many points does Eskandari gain. If Potter finishes second, then it's only 10 points, and with a deficit of 175 coming into today, that's not really a dent into the championship lead. Potter, for Eskandari's sake, needs to finish a lot further down than second or third, and so Adams is going to fight with him to try and pull Mark Hilly into the fight.
Looks like that's how it's going for the moment. We'll keep an eye on lap times here when they come across the line next to see where the advantage actually sits. But for the moment, Kieran Potter unable to repass Campbell Adams on the way into Ascari. Another long straight into Parabolica beckons, though. And you see the gaps just creep down, don't you? Potter pulls out of the slipstream and will make life difficult for Campbell Adams here. Does Campbell Adams make Potter's life difficult in response, is the question. Mark Hilly sitting about 1.1 seconds back, 1.2. So it's enough to get a whisper of slipstream, but not quite enough to really jet up to them. Once these guys work together a little bit, they'll manage to increase that gap quite substantially. We're rapidly now approaching the halfway point of the race, and still seeing no sign of any pit stops from our front runners.
Yeah, it is halfway exactly now, I think. There we go. 22.5 minutes, if I'm not mistaken. So, halfway through this race. Expecting pit stops in the next 4 laps, though, for these leaders. And there are still plenty of stops to come from the top 19, I believe, have not been in yet. Potter gets down the inside of Adams, is now through, but Hilly's now in the group. And it's going to be very difficult for Potter to get away from the group as well now. So, yeah, this is good strategy from a good strategy for Adams. He's sacrificing himself in effect, because if he'd have worked together with Potter, he could have ensured a better result for himself. But that's not what he's thinking about at the moment here, Adams. He's already down in 27th in points. He's not going to be doing anything major as far as this championship's concerned. He's just trying to help his teammate, and he has successfully brought Mark Hilly into the game. It's not unreasonable that Bell could be brought in here, as well as Danny Davison, who himself will be very motivated to get in front of Potter, because he is a teammate of Eskandari's. So this is good strategy from Adams at the moment. Does Potter, though, either try and lead this group? Less likely. I think he might well try and pit here a couple of laps early to try and get himself out of this, because as it stands, he could have 2 more in the group if he's not too careful. He's carrying on, though, and he's opening himself up to attack from Campbell Adams in towards the first chicane.
too wide then. Hilly decides to follow Adams's slipstream as it's clear he's the one that's further ahead. And there's going to be a lot of gains being made under brakes at turn 1 here as late as you dare. Try and tip the car in across the curb. Be careful of that orange sausage curb on the apex of turn 2 as well. That'll really unsettle you. These cars very stiffly sprung, so any bumps are not desirable in these things. Now Healy is truly in slipstream range, and he'll become a part of this fight. There's still plenty of fights going on throughout the rest of the field as well. Anthony Bate and Tom McInnes still ahead of Ryan Borg and Kane Ryder for the last few positions in the top 10. But this is where the battle is at the moment. Through the Lesmos. Getting the exit of Lesmo 2 is crucial, and it's such a difficult corner to find your way through. It's easy to run too far across the curb and get an off track there. The drivers will have to worry about that if they get too many incident points. And this is interesting. Not taking the slipstream there is Kieran Potter.
Yeah, I didn't want to get too close, I think, to Adams into Ascari. That's what I was trying to say, but someone else's name came out. In towards the final corner, and this might be his chance if he wants it. It's hard to know where to make the move here, because you just know that your opponent has a chance to come straight back again on the next straight at Monza. But Potter decides now is not the moment, and he stays behind again. Campbell Adams and Mark Healy either side of him. What are we on now? 15 laps gone, so 2 to go until the very limit as far as fuel is concerned. Jet Saragi's in, so is Anthony Bates, so we are starting to see some stops now. Don't be surprised if somebody maybe goes 18 laps here if they've been fuel saving a little bit. Potter goes down the inside of Adams though, and straight back through again in towards the first chicane. So these guys are working together a little bit more than I was expecting. I thought Adams would fight really hard with Potter just to sort of intensely slow him down really, but Bell and Davison haven't had the chance to get back into this group just yet.
I suppose Eskandari's gap is enough in this mid-stage that Campbell Adams doesn't have to worry too much about the gap decreasing here. He's putting enough pressure on Potter that is stymieing his run just a little bit. Could also be that they're staging for their eventual run into the pits. Again, as you mentioned, a couple of laps remaining until the very limit of the restricted fuel tank for the start of the race here. But let's keep our eyes peeled. There's going to be a lot of activity in pit lane coming up soon.
There absolutely is. We'll see who's going to be where at the end of it all. It's not the hardest place in the world to get a speeding in the pit lane penalty. You're coming from quite high speed and obviously just taking a hard right towards the pit lane. And we'll see. We'll see what happens when they do to get to that in a couple of moments' time.
Eskandari's in.
Okay, yeah, and they're all in here. So, 16 laps maybe seems to be the limit. 17 maybe an ambitious estimate. Still, we haven't seen the top 17 in, with the exception of Jet Saragi, who is into pit lane at the moment. So, everybody's in here pretty much. It's only just over halfway as well, so Eskandar is going to be out first. Let's see about the rest of them. Are they going to stay in the group? Potter next, then Adams, who drops back behind Hilly as well, but the gaps are not large. Has Potter gotten away from Hilly and Adams, though? Well, not really. It's a big gap, though, and they'll be hoping, or Potter will be hoping, that he's done enough here to clear himself of Adams and Hilly.
Yeah, and also has managed to bring the gap down ever so slightly. 0.3 quicker than Eskandari from pit lane entry to exit, but it looks like Eskandari is going to waste no time getting that gap back up again. I think his race lead is effectively locked in at this point, unless he has a run-in with traffic or a mistake. And I don't think traffic is going to be a factor. Bonacci and McGee are the last running cars, and they're just coming across the start-finish line now.
Yeah, so there were the pit stop times, by the way. Very uniform across the board, really. Everybody needing the same amount of fuel. Hilly is pulling hard here, and Potter is not quite clear yet. Ryan Bell's not far from this group as well here, so it might not be over for Potter just yet. as I mentioned, especially for max boost, they've got to get Potter to finish lower than second here in this race. Don't forget the lowest points he can score anyway is the 1 point that he got at Spa. So every point counts here, as in he doesn't have a drop round to fall back on like some McConkey did in these races and so on. But yes, it's 7 temps now. Hilly's just slowly closing this gap. Bell's not getting the chance to join in yet because Adams is getting the slipstream off Hilly, and that's pulling him further away from Bell. Adams somehow has got to try and slow this group down as a whole, I think, and get Bell and Davidson involved, and maybe Saragi as well, because, as I say, Potter needs to lose more points to Eskandari than what he's currently doing.
Yeah, problem for Campbell Adams is he's not at the front of the pack, so he can't do much slowing at the moment. Kieran Potter is just focusing on his own lines at the moment. Adams gets past Healy through turns 1 and 2, and then the slipstream will kick in again. But at the moment, I think Kieran Potter is steadily building an advantage for second place here. I think he's pretty solidly in that. But all it takes is one mistake. I mean, we saw that the whole reason Kieran Potter got back into third in the first place was a slowdown at the second chicane. That is still a possibility at pretty much every corner of this racetrack.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, meantime, Marcus Kazitska's dropping down the field quite quickly, further down the back end of the field. But there you go. That's an incident a little bit further down. Let's see what happened to him, indeed. He seems to be on his own in towards the first chicane. It's not as simple as a slowdown by looks things. He's gone for a spin, and with the oncoming traffic, that's going to make it very difficult to rejoin as well. Especially because there's that curb there as well that you don't want to get beached on, so that all makes it very difficult. Adams still 8 temps behind Potter. He's not really been able to get any closer here. Hilly has got Bell properly into this group now, so it is 3 drivers trying to catch up to Potter, but I wouldn't say Potter's properly part of this group yet. He's definitely being slipstreamed off of, but there's no chance you can overtake from back here. And Adams has got to get much closer. Eskandari leads by more than 2 seconds, and I think unless he makes a big mistake, he's going to go on and win this race. But who's going to finish second, and are they going to involve Kieran Potter in a group like this? Hilly goes down the inside of Campbell Adams. They're just not really catching as it stands.
Yeah, this there doesn't seem to be much beneficial teamwork going on between these guys. There's a lot of gravel and sand that's been put out there on the exit of turn 2 as well. Slight twitch for Hilly coming into Curva Grande, which is a corner that you don't usually see that sort of move at. It's really just a long curved acceleration zone these days, though when the track opened back in 1921, it was a proper corner, it has to be said. A lot of history at Monza. I think by my estimations, this place is actually the oldest operating permanent road course on the planet. Only Indianapolis Motor Speedway is older.
So I'd say this is a bit more impressive to have been running for so long, if I'm honest. But there you go. Maybe I'm... even a rectangle, I suppose, was difficult to run back in the day, so fair enough. But yeah, it is a circuit that, while it has gone through a lot of changes, even in the last 25 years or so, 30 years, it has retained a lot of its character, and it has at least retained operation over the course of that time period, which can't be said the same for many racetracks that were around then. So it's a historic place, that's for sure, and we're drawing towards the end of our time here, unfortunately. 45 minutes of a feature race only, like we have next time out as well, next week at Adelaide, by the way, on the streets of Adelaide. Not quite as much history there as here, although for a street circuit there is quite a lot. Side by side, and Bell has a look down the inside of Adams, but can't get through. I think they've decided and finally realised, really, that... oh, no, he's gone! Ryan Bell's gone! Just as he called this group and worked so hard to get there! He spins! And that would have been really disappointing for Kieran Potter, because, of course, Bell is a teammate of Potter. So while the others would have been, and the likes of Adams and Eskandari would have been hoping, let's get Bell involved here, he was never actually going to finish in front of his teammate. He could have even helped Potter, but... he's spun out of the group and he's down to 7th place.
Oh, it's all getting on the power too hard out of turn 2. I mean, the first chicane here is effectively a double hairpin. That's how you've got to treat it. And traction from these low speeds is at a premium, especially with all of the dust that's been thrown onto the racetrack from various offs over the last few laps. A real shame for Ryan Bell. He'll be ruining that mistake. Now he's stuck back in 7th place. Could still get 6th, though. He's with Jet Saragi. So then, this trio for 2nd place. The gap for Sebastian Eskandari is creeping down a little bit. It's now 2.1 seconds. It was as high as 2.3, 2.4 just a few laps ago. I wonder if Eskandari's just running out of pace here, or if it's just the strength of the slipstream between these guys making that advantage up.
Now, does Hilly try and get past Potter straight away? I think he will do. And here he goes, yep, to the inside. Hilly is going to get past Potter in towards turn number 1. Or does he feel there's maybe a chance to go on and win this from here? I think, to be honest, with 10 minutes to go, 2.5 seconds could be a bridge too far, but I think Hilly believes he might be able to get there. Adams is right in behind Potter now as well, though for Curvy Grande it's very difficult to get anywhere. Potter not with a very good run at all out of the first chicane there for whatever reason. Here comes Adams in the meantime, trying to get past, and he's not going to, in towards the second chicane. That's probably a good idea as well, perhaps, with Hilly looking to try and get away. But yeah, maybe Hilly believes he can try and get to the race lead. He's at least going to try.
Yeah, he's pushing hard, isn't he? Kicking up a bit of gravel through Lesmo 1. Kieran Potter's line through the first chicane there was just no flow to it. He straightened the wheel out completely between the corners for only a fraction of a second, but it was a fraction of a second too much. You've really got to flow the car in between the apexes at this circuit to get the best lap time. Straight line speed is one thing, but in order to get that straight line speed, you have to nail the turns, and that's hard with such a low downforce requirement for this place.
If the race were to end in Eskandari's favour, i.e. Potter finishes 4th in this group and sort of they get the maximum out of him, the gap will still only be 147 points to Sebastian Eskandari. It's a massive undertaking, this closing of the gap here for the later rounds of the season here for Sebastian Eskandari, as he tries to become the first driver to win 2 Super Formula Lights Championships with the FDL here over the course of 5 seasons. Still no double champions. Potter doesn't know whether to go down the inside there or not. Adams was closing quick, and if Adams is clearly not concerned they're going to catch Eskandari there, because although they did gain on the last lap by about 3 tenths, he didn't go down the inside of Potter and try and disrupt the group there. He stayed at the back of it.
Yeah, I think a smart decision. It's at this point with 8.5 minutes remaining, about 6 or so laps. You want to try and gear up for your move on the final lap. I always say in just about every broadcast, it's ideal to leave your move to a crucial moment where your rival doesn't have a chance to respond. And I think Monza is the best demonstration of that. The straights are so long here that, yeah, you can slipstream past and go for a lunge into turn 1 on the final lap, but you've got the entire rest of the circuit to have to defend. Campbell Adams, staying out of the slipstream there, again, doesn't want to get too close to Potter into Ascari, which is one of the corners where aero push is a massive factor. Look at how much he lost there.
Yeah, that was a big time loss, and he might be out of it now. Adams might be gone. Meantime, there's been a penalty to Shane McGee for a towing without permission. That's now 30 seconds of penalties for him in this race, I believe. Yep, indeed it is. So he'll be dropping a long way down. Indeed, will be out of the race, I'd imagine, in 30th position anyway. No, it's back again now. Thought there was a disconnection going on down there. Scott Bartine has dropped quite a long way back now, and so has Madden McGee in recent laps, as Potter now gets down the inside of Hilly and goes through. Do they see a chance here? 7 minutes to go. The gap down to 1.7 at its lowest, but that wasn't a very good first chicane. And Potter now is almost as if he's slowing the group down there intentionally. I don't really know why he would want to do that. I'm sure it wasn't intentional, but he's right in front of Hilly now, who wants to get straight back through again. And to be fair, when Hilly was uninterrupted at the front of the group, things were going well. Unfortunately, a lot of his hard work's just been undone there.
Yeah, I think the first chicane is just flat out Kieran Potter's weakest part of the circuit. He's been losing time the most there, and though he did try to make the move on Hilly, he wasn't able to maintain a good minimum speed through the corner. And now with those mistakes through the Lesmos, he's lost even more, and Hilly is just on his own now, trying to catch back up to Eskandari. It is interesting, though, to see that these guys' lap times have gone down as much as they have. Eskandari, yeah, you'd expect that he'd be cruising out the front and not having as tough of a time of it. But that's dependent on the pack behind not fighting amongst themselves. For the most part, Hilly, Potter and Adams have been doing a good job of that, but it's just those mistakes that creep in every so often. Every time the gap comes down to something workable, the hard work is undone.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the biggest problem for them now is indeed the time remaining in the race. Potter's is staying out of the slipstream intentionally now, so as to not actually disrupt Hilly. I think they've realised the best way round for this, but they've lost a lap there of progress effectively, because the gap is exactly the same as what it was before. Actually, Hilly did gain a little bit of time. It's 23 thousandths of a second, though. He's not going to get there very quickly if he keeps doing that every lap. So they're going to have to go a bit quicker than that. Just over 5 minutes to go means there's probably 4 laps to go, including this one. And Eskandari is holding on for now. But can Hilly get there and bring Potter into it? And Adams, I think, is hanging around here at the back just to see what happens. Oh, Hilly's got to slow down. That might be it now. That might be it. Unless it's a very, very small slowdown, which I can't imagine it is through the second chicane. That's going to be it, because Hilly's going to be trying to serve it. Potter doesn't want to go past him. Adams doesn't want them to catch Eskandari at all. And this is disastrous. Hilly goes to the back of the group. How far back is he going to go? Is he going to be completely out of the group? Or is it going to be... No, he's going to be out of it completely, I think. He has got a big, big slowdown here. And it's up to Adams and Potter to decide the podium places.
Eskandari's gap extending back out to 2.3 seconds in the process. Hilly has cleared the slowdown, and he is within a second of Campbell Adams. So it looks like it's not entirely day done for Hilly, but all it takes is the start-finish straight of Potter and Adams working together, and Hilly will lose touch with them. He's running super wide there on the exit of the final corner, just trying to get as much momentum as he can to keep himself in this fight. And now things are starting to potentially boil over here between Potter and Adams. Some moves side to side down the straight. Adams will get in front by the time they get to turn 1. Now, the question is he going to try and mount an attack on his teammate Eskandari, or will he try and keep Potter back?
Yeah, I think this is intentional to try and keep Potter back, and I think to actually pull Hilly into the group, because, as I mentioned, the best that Eskandari can, the closest Eskandari can be to Potter at the end of the day is 147 points behind, which is not very close. So he's going to try and get as many points as he can, really, from this race today. But Adams has got to help him with that, and in any case, it might not be possible to do that. To be honest with you, yeah, they might well struggle. But let's wait and see here. With 3 minutes to go, there is 3 laps, including the one they're on at the moment. So 2 to go at the line for positions to change here. Don't forget, by the end of the day, that Brodie McConkie will have maybe even, if Potter drops to 4th, gained some points. He will still be 2nd place in the championship. Eskandari should be up, though, to 3rd place in the championship now, with Jackson Rihanna losing over 60 points to Eskandari. He only holds 43 at the moment, so it's going to be 3rd place in the championship for Eskandari, but not 2nd. Adams at the moment is not able to get Hilly back into the group. By the look of things, that slowdown might have cost him. 2 laps to go. See how, or indeed even if Adams is trying to do this at the moment.
Yeah, Potter weaving down the straight to break the slipstream, but there's not much point to that when the straight is so long. The momentum for Campbell Adams is monumental, and Potter has no choice but to let him go into turn 1. Gap down to just 2 seconds for the lead of the race. it's always a bit touch and go down at that first chicane. You're really just tipping the car in and hoping that you don't get a slowdown cutting the curb too much. Potter leading up a charge here into the second chicane again. The gap is now down below 2 seconds for a couple of moments. If Potter wants to make a run, he probably should have started it a few laps ago, but now he's got no choice but to attack.
Well, I'm not sure they've really worked out, these two, quite where the best place is to be going on to the last lap. And that's not a great place to be when the next lap is the last one. They're just sort of working this out on the fly, I think. And Adams, again, has got to... Well, maybe he's figured this out. He's going to the inside for Ascari. He wouldn't go for it through here. I think he might well try and get Potter in front of him. Oh, by this point, and then go for it through the final turn. But it's not the last lap this time round. And if it was, then Potter would have been absolutely screwed as far as keeping second is concerned. See, Adams is trying to keep him in front. I wouldn't be surprised to see at least 2 exchanges of position here on the last lap, maybe 3, because there's only 2 of them here. I think Adams wants to be second, coming down to the final corner and then take the position through there. Or maybe he's going to do it somewhere else. Hilly's also within half a second too now, so maybe he's properly involved. Here comes Adams though. No, he's not going to go through. He's waiting here. The games have properly begun.
And this is going to bring Hilly right back into it. Hilly's just been flat out behind these guys, and he is going to close up to the rear of Campbell Adams by the time they get to turn 1. It's officially a 3-way battle for second again. Eskandari cruising across the line, and the gap has increased further to 2.4, 2.5. It comes back down ever so slightly, but it's any question who's going to get second and third here now.
It is, absolutely. Side by side initially. So, and he's going to go back for it, Potter. He tried to go get overtaken and then retake the place. Hilly's got a much better run here for the second chicane, and he can't quite get the exit. Campbell Adams might be gone. Oh, that was a great overtake from Campbell Adams. And Potter's attempt to try and get it back straight away might have cost him the opportunity to get into second at all here. Mark Killy's now right behind him through Lesmo 2. That's a great corner there from Potter. I'm sure, though, he's too far away from Adams. I think it's going to be a max boost 1-2, which will be absolutely fantastic for them, and it would be the first time this season that they've managed it. Eskandari has won on 2 occasions already, but never with a teammate in second. It looks like that might be happening here for the first time this season. Hilly's run through Ascari is not good enough, I'm afraid. Potter's going to get third, it looks like, in the end, and retain more than 120 points worth of a championship lead by the end of the day. But at the front of the field, Sebastian Eskandari is going to take his 3rd race victory of the season, his 2nd in a feature race this season, and this time it's at Monza. Sebastian Eskandari wins comfortably here at Monza in the Gripline Super Formula Lights Championship in front of his teammate Campbell Adams. Potter retains his championship margin with 3rd, and Mark Hilly ends up in 4th position.
It was a great battle all the way through, were it not for a couple of simple elementary errors. Goodness me, we might have been looking at a completely different result there. Ryan Bell finishes in 7th ahead of Anthony Bate, who takes the win in the silver class. A lovely run from him, and it's a Proline 1-2 in silver, with Tom McInnes finishing in 9th. More drivers coming across the line, and it looks like that's the last of our close battles decided. Angus Milne beating Jack Munro for 18th, and 13th place went the way of Alex Stevens ahead of Tom Donoghue.
McLaren's off on the last lap, so it was indeed the last fight, but Tristan McLaren might have been off in a big way, actually. He's not going anywhere. No, maybe he is. No, I don't know. Oh, there he is.
Oh dear.
Yeah, he has been in the wall at Parabolica, and it took him quite a while to get out the gravel by the looks of things. He'll be very pleased that this is the last lap, I would have thought. And there he goes over the line in 26th position. There you go. That is the end of the day from Monza. 45 minutes of racing tonight in the Gripline Super Formula Lights Championship, and it is there's the qualifying results. It is Eskandari who wins by just under a second in the end. He really slowed down towards the end. I think it was intentional. Adams gets the 1-2 with Kieran Potter rounding off those on the podium, retaining the championship lead that he had at the start of the day of 128 over Brody McConkie, and Eskandari gets 17 points closer or 18 points closer, which is not very much closer, really, long story short, within 160 anyway. Mark Healy ends up last of that group with Dave Davison rounding out the top 5, Jet Saragi and Ryan Bell next in front of Anthony Bate, who wins in the silver class in front of Tom McInnes, so he extends his championship lead now to 8 points. It's not a very large lead. Kane Ryder rounds out the top 10 with Julian Sonese next, Ryan Borg, Alex Stevens, Tom Donahue all the way down in 14th place there, which is a bit of a shame for him. That will be his drop round now, though, so he won't lose quite as many as it looks. Chris Little finishes in 15th place with a podium in the silver class in front of Jackie Chung. Mark Heppel, Angus Milne was 18th position, as then Jack Munro, Alexia Watson round out the top 20. 21st to Thomas Searle with Dan Ackland, Brendan Bonacci, Marcus Kitsker and Nathan Verney, and Tristan McLaren rounding up those on the lead lap. Bandler McGee was one lap down in the end there. Jack Tremiano retired 2 laps from the finish. Scott Barton and Shane McGee about 2/3 of the way through the race. They retired from the race. Well, let's have a chat then, shall we, to some of them. Sebastian Eskandari wins here tonight from Monza. And Seb, welcome in. Congratulations on winning the race here tonight. Just over a second the gap at the end, but you were leading by more than a second for quite a while there. Just tell us about the moment at which you got that lead over your teammate Campbell Adams, because you'd gotten away with him at the front of the field, and at that time I got the sense you wanted to keep Campbell with you, but realised that you couldn't do that without letting Potter back into the group as well. So talk us through that moment there as you realised you would have to go on your own.
Well, I didn't really want to go on my own, but it was sort of just a decision that happened right in that moment. Like, Kieran got to slow down a few laps earlier, so we tried to brake then, but then Campbell locked up into one, and so that was sort of the moment that I had to go and pump out some laps. I was fortunate to be able to, and to do some pretty decent lap times and pull another little bit. But yeah, then it was just about managing the gap and trying not to make many mistakes, which I did a pretty good job of.
The gap now, with Kieran finishing in third, drops to 157 between the two of you, although I'm sure you maybe 158, anyway, somewhere around there. How sort of do you rate your chances of closing that gap, because that is a large gap going into the last 3 rounds? How do you rate your chances of closing it? Not
very high. I mean, Kieran's a great driver, but I'm going to be here for next week, but I don't think the last 2 rounds. So to sort of just maximise everything for the team next week, and then, yeah, I guess see what happens for the last 2 rounds. But anyway, I'll just enjoy next week while I can.
All right, well, we'll look forward to seeing you there at Adelaide next week. Thanks for chatting to us, and congrats on the win tonight.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. Sebastian Eskandari winning here tonight from Monza in front of Campbell Adams, who brings home a Max Boost 1-2. Campbell, welcome in. Good to have you with us. A great last lap fight between yourself and Kieran Potter and Mark Healy there for second position, which you come out on top on in the end to secure a team 1-2. Tell us about that last lap from your perspective.
Yeah, it was a chaotic last lap, that's for sure. I wasn't really sure what to do. I was thinking if I pass on the main straight, he'll probably get the slip back. So yeah, decided I wanted to sit behind, go for the move into the second chicane, and yeah, luckily they kind of fought into the braking, so was able to get a gap, and then yeah, just had to bring it home. Basically, I wasn't doing any risks, so yeah, happy to get the 1-2 for the team.
Talk us through the season for yourselves at Max Boost, because the last couple we've seen you on the top of the team standings by a long way, and in the races all over the front as well. But Proline have turned up this season and properly given it a go, and they're still leading the team's championship as things stand. How have you been finding things as a team so far this season?
Yeah, really good. The bond's really strong, the chemistry's really good, and the team, yeah, we all get on really well, so that's a huge positive. Obviously, I've missed probably, I can't remember, 2 or 3 races this season, so I believe a few others. I think Seb's missed a few as well, so I don't think it's really a comparable sort of thing, but I think, yeah, it's not over yet, so we can definitely bring it back, I'm sure.
Yeah, well, there's still 3 rounds to do it, of course. Congrats on getting second here tonight, Campbell, and thanks for chatting to us at the end as well.
Cheers, mate. Thank you.
Thanks so much. Campbell Adams finishing in second place there in front of Kieran Potter in the end who finishes in third. Kieran, welcome in. Good to have you with us. Considering the trials and tribulations of the day and the battles you've had and all sorts, are you pleased to have got out of here with a podium?
Yeah, to be honest. I mean, I think I was decently happy with my pace in clear air, but it's just, yeah, made a mistake, got the slow down, and then as soon as you get to 7/10 behind the car in front, you just lose all the toe. And then if Campbell and Seb had been able to work together for the rest of the race, they would have run away with it pretty comfortably. But yeah, P3 is a good finish in the end.
In terms of the championship, Brodie McConkie now probably the most the biggest contender, although wasn't here today. Still will have stayed close because of the drop rounds. So I think around 120 points, something like that. 128 points, probably very similar to what it is now. How confident are you can hold on to that margin now with just 3 rounds to go in this season?
I'm decently confident, but you know, I've said it the last couple of weeks. All it takes is one bad decision or poor race or something, and everyone else is right back in it. But I think, I don't know, if I just keep finishing where I'm finishing, trying to do my best, I should be alright. But like, someone like Seb could conceivably go out and win every race, every pole for the rest of the season. So we'll just have to see how it pans out.
Yeah, we will. Well, congratulations on getting to third tonight, Kieran, and thanks for chatting to us as well.
Thank you.
Thanks very much, Kieran Potter, the third place driver in the end there, retaining a very large championship lead. I know I ask him every week the same question, but I'm just still wondering about his confidence, and he's still very confident, and you would be as well with that sort of a lead. Obviously, insert Brodie McConkie into that, by the way, at 128 points, and Eskandari with missing rounds. You start to understand that Tom Donoghue, then the next closest contender, at nearly 200 points behind. Anthony Bate is leading the Silver Class Championship now by 8 points, and as we see that, I'll just bring him in for a bit of a chat as well before we end off. Anthony, welcome in. Congratulations on winning the Silver Class here tonight from Monza. Seemed like quite a fight between you and Tom McInnes through most of that race anyway. Just tell us a little bit about the fight between yourselves tonight.
Yeah, well, it is definitely difficult when your teammate is the one you're fighting. That was for sure. We mostly worked together to hold, I think it was Kane Ryder behind us for a while, and just kept trading slipstream for a bit, but it's always tough. I ended up just making a punt on going into the pits, trying a little undercut, see if I could get away from the chaos, and it kind of paid off for me. I got a 4-second gap to Thomas, and then I was able to go from there.
And talk to us about the championship now as well, battling with a teammate so closely for a championship. Coming in tonight, it was 5 points. Now it's only 8 points as you beat him, but don't extend the advantage very much. Just how is it to fight for a championship like this against a teammate and fighting such a close battle as well as it's become between the two of you?
Yeah, well, it's definitely tough. Like Tom is very fast in his own right, and I think he's got me matched. So it's going to be a tough one to really edge out like a victory against him. But we'll take it right to the end and see what happens. But it was a shame last week. Threw away some good points on the last lap. Few corners remaining, so yeah, I guess here we are. Just a quick, want to shout out my teammate Miguel, who believed in me for this race.
I thought that was thought you were going to go on more then, but no, that's fine. Congratulations on getting the win here in the Silver Class tonight, and thanks for chatting to us at the end as well.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it as always.
Thanks very much, Anthony Bate. First place in the Silver Class here tonight, and indeed in the season as well. There are the championship standings. Again, make sure you insert Brodie McConkie into there. The reason he doesn't appear, by the way, when we do this is because it doesn't account for the drop rounds, but why would it do? 128 points is the gap back to McConkie. Then you get to Eskandari, which is 156 by the looks of that, and then Tom Donoghue, who is 193 behind. You start to understand pretty quickly, Reece, when we look at the Silver Class standings, Proliner 1 and 2 there, the team standings where they're leading by over 100 points coming into today, and Kieran Potter's mammoth lead in the Drivers' Championship now. You start to understand that this is just Proline season, it looks at the moment.
Yeah, they've had an incredibly good run over the first half of the season, but now the second half has kicked off and it's up to everyone else to respond. We're going to be having another feature round next week at Adelaide before we go for the last sprint of the season at the Nurburgring and an enduro to end off the season at Interlagos. A great trio of tracks, and I think Adelaide, despite the decision to switch it from the sprint to the feature format, is still going to be around where we may see some big competitors fall by the wayside. It's a brutal place.
I think if there is a round at which Kieran Potter could see his championship lead dented or put into some doubt, I think next week is probably the week. So make sure you tune in for the next round of the championship. Same time, same place as always, here on the TrackSpotTV, of course, from Adelaide. 45 minutes of racing once again as we take on our feature racing double header. That's just about it from us tonight, though, at Monza. This has been the Gripline Super Formula Lights Championship, supported by Everything Simulated. I've been Ian O'Leary alongside Rhys Gardner. Until we see you again in 1 week's time at Adelaide, it's goodbye for now.